Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Airport Wild Podcast. My name is Jesse Warner, your host of the podcast, and today I'm just introducing this next episode. I think it's a really cool episode. We were able to sit down with, or Skype rather, with Barthell Joseph of Reed Joseph International. Now these guys, they are importers and distributors of different tech tools, we'll say, for wildlife management. Mostly with pyrotechnics, but also propane cannons. They've got one system out there. I think the name alone should send to the website. It's called Scare Wars. It's just really cool system altogether. But today's episode, we're mostly going to be focusing on the pyrotechnics. I really want to get into their other management tools that they also provide, but we want to use that for another episode because I think there's just too much to have into one, cram into one episode. So today's going to be all about pyrotechnics, different types of pyrotechnics, safety, legalities, anything and everything you guys are going to want to know in your airports and your situations. And if you guys have any questions, I mean, obviously get a hold of us, or we'll provide a link to Mr. Joseph. So yeah, sit back, relax, and hopefully you enjoy this episode, and stick around because we've got some information for you at the end of the episode. Okay, so we are back. So today we have Barthell Joseph of Reed Joseph, Pyrotechnics on. Well, thank you, Barthel, and I just jump right into it. You want to explain kind of who you are and what you do, and
Hey, Jesse. Yeah. So we are importers and distributors of pyrotechnics that are designed for bird and wildlife control. And pyrotechnics, I guess the definition of them is a device that contains pyrotechnic material. They don't have to be explosives. Some of ours do contain some explosive material, but they're basically noise-making devices that travel downrange and in our case, they're designed for bird and wildlife harassment. By far, our best-selling pyrotechnic devices are 15 millimeters in size, and we've got basically two types. We've got our screamer siren cartridges, and they look like this. This is a 15 millimeters in diameter. And they're about 3 inches long or so, and they're hollow on the trailing edge, and they're solid on the leading edge. And then we have our bird banger cartridges. These are packed a little differently because they do contain an explosive material. These go downrange and make a loud report. And then we have a louder bird banger. It's called the Banger EXP, and it performs exactly like the bird banger, but it only makes a louder report. It has more explosive material in it. That's the only difference. But these are launched with launchers. We've got three types. We've got a single shot launcher, a double shot launcher, and we've got. We have been selling a 7-shot launcher. We haven't been happy with it, so we're developing a new launcher that's more reliable and easier to clean and just more durable. It's a 6-shot launcher, so we haven't got it on the market yet, but we're super excited about it, and we hopefully will have it on the market by the end of the summer. But it's super easy to use these 15 millimeter cartridges. You simply they're basically a couple of steps. I'll use this single shot launcher. It's our most popular launcher product and easiest to use. And these are the blank primers that they're 6 millimeters in size. They're the component that basically charge the pyrotechnic devices. They're the ones that light the fuse basically, and they're small. See? Here's one of them. They're called Acorns. That's the nickname for them, and they're manufactured in Czech Republic, and that's always been the nickname. And to load it, in this particular launcher, you depress this lever on the front end like this, and then you drop it. You drop it into the chamber like so. And I'm going to drop the hammer so it's no danger of igniting. And then once you do that, you load the cartridge into the muzzle, the screamer siren. You load the hollow end in, and then you can pull the hammer back, pull the trigger, point about 60 degrees in the air, downrange. And this particular cartridge will go downrange about 250 feet and make a screaming noise as it goes. And it's our most popular 15 millimeter cartridge. The bird banger, we load the fuse end, the black. It's actually compressed charcoal, and it burns fairly quickly. It burns for about 1.5 seconds. And so it's different from the screamer siren, because the screamer propels itself downrange. It's basically a rocket, a noisy rocket that's just propelling itself downrange, whereas the banger is not propelling itself downrange. So two things happen when you fire the banger. When you pull the trigger and this blank primer ignites, it sort of lobs the bird banger downrange, almost like a mortar would be lobbed. It's just the force of the expanding gas in the barrel. That's all it is that's sending this downrange. So it can go anywhere from 50 feet to 100 feet, depending on the wind. And as it goes, so it's a pretty big, variation. But it does two things simultaneously. It lobs this thing downrange, and it lights this fuse. And the fuse is designed to burn for about 1.5 seconds, and then it ignites the explosive material inside the cartridge, and makes a loud bang. And this is just reduced to confetti, basically. There's nothing left. There is a small plastic cap that eventually disintegrates. The screamer falls to the ground basically intact, but it's paper and it disintegrates over time. And the Bird Banger EXP does the same thing as the Bird Banger. It just makes a louder bang.
So with the EXP, do you still get the same range that you do out of the standard?
Yes. They are they're identical. One neat thing that we have coming up, and we're in a testing stage right now. We're working on some prototypes to send to the manufacturer for testing, and we're going to try to get some out to professional wildlife biologists like yourself. But it's pretty cool. It's a device that connects the screamer to the banger, and it has basically a set of wings on it. We don't even have a name for it yet. We'll call it a coupler or stabilizer or something, but it's pretty cool. And I've tested probably 100 of them so far, and pretty pleased with the performance of them. And they will take this whole loaded coupling downrange about 250 feet, and then it lights the fuse on the bird banger, and the bird banger makes a loud report. So it does. It's a new product that we had years ago. We had something that we called the Screamer Banger Rocket, and we took it off the market for a couple of reasons. We had to change the classification of our cartridges back in, I think, 2011, and everything became a lot harder to get. When that happened, it took away most of the demand, and so we just really that was the main reason. But we had some performance issues with it, and we think that this new device is going to be a lot better. going to be a lot sturdier, and it's going to work a whole lot better. So we're super excited about it.
No, that sounds really cool. I remember, well, so I've been doing wildlife, well, especially with pyrotechnics since, well, actually, I've been in the game since 2011 is when I first got my first, that's when I got my first wildlife job. And I remember a couple years later, the outfit I was working with, we had a couple of them, the older designs that we were able to use on cormorants, and they were awesome. Always loved the idea, but I think I know what performance issues you were talking about.
What?
It seemed to nosedive on us a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, especially so we weren't getting the full performance out of it.
Yeah.
But I always loved the idea because instead of having to have two launchers, especially with a lot of these birds, and that's something maybe our listeners don't know about is it's always beneficial to. I always like to mix and match my loads. Don't run all whistlers, don't run all bangers. Kind of mix it up. Don't let the birds or the wildlife, depending on what you're harassing, don't let them know what's coming. Don't let them anticipate it. And I always thought that those coupler devices, having that opportunity to not only whistle but then get the bang way out there.
Yeah.
Because to me, I mean, you're getting the range of another product that I haven't seen one in years, but the old the cracker shells. The guys, some that I know, I don't think another manufacturer makes them for like a shotgun or something, but
Yeah. We still sell them.
You guys still do sell them. With I think you get the range of the cracker shell, but the addition of the whistler, I love that mix and match and that variability just really seems to help keep the wildlife from getting acclimated.
I think we get a little more range than a cracker shell.
Really?
Yeah,
Nice.
I really do. We do sell the 12 gauge rounds. We've taken them. We've had them on. We've been on and off with offering them. There've been performance issues with those too, but we've been reassured by the manufacturer. It's an American manufacturer. All of our other products are European in design and manufacture. This is an American product, and we've been assured. We've gotten assurances from the manufacturer that the problems have been solved, and so we're probably going to put that back on the market too. But we've seen a decline in the usage of those. I mean, fewer people feel comfortable having a 12 gauge, in their possession for whatever reason.
Right.
So the 15 millimeter, serves a better purpose, and this combination will be about the same price as a 12 gauge cracker shell. So we think it's gonna be a good a really good alternative to that.
No, I would fully agree. Just with the banger shells, I mean, just that black powder, it's that extra cleaning you got to do to keep your guns from corroding and you got to have a 12 gauge in your possession. I mean, you're always, I mean, especially if you're working in a more urban environment. I mean, there's a big, I mean, because not everybody knows what we're doing. I mean, we're running in the public sector, and it's a big difference between a guy shouldering a single shot 12 gauge versus a little orange launcher. I mean, but most folks, it look like a single shot pistol kind of thing. I mean, there's a big difference, and then that bright orange, folks. It helps with the psychological effect with people. Is we're not hunting per se. Is we're here to harass. We're here to work.
Yeah.
I think I always thought that was pretty cool. So just going with your other launchers. So you guys have the single shot like you just showed, but you also have the over under version.
Yeah.
And so for folks that don't know, is it still single action? I mean, you're not going to launch both pyros at once, correct? You're going to get one shot, cock it again, then you get your second pyro.
Well, it's one shot. The first chamber, the upper barrel fires first.
Yep.
And then it automatically recocks. Once the top barrel fires, it will automatically recock, and then it'll be ready to fire again.
Then you get your second shot.
The bottom barrel, yeah.
So that's another great way that you can mix and match. You can have a banger on top and a whistler, or vice versa.
Well, we like to put the banger on The banger on top, screamer on the bottom.
Okay. Now, is there just a safety reason for that, or?
Yeah, this has happened once that I know of. The screamer was on the top, and the banger was on the bottom, and this would, we sell, we sell lots of these every year. So, we have a lot of customers, and they're firing it. Thousands and thousands and thousands of these products are being fired every day. So, you know, one in every million or two is going to just be a perfect storm. But the banger was in the bottom barrel, and it was accidentally loaded backward. The
Oh,
screamer was in the top barrel, like that. And when the screamer left, the exhaust from the screamer ignited the fuse in the banger, and the banger burned for a second and a half and then exploded in the barrel. So if the banger is loaded in the top barrel, that's not possible. Even if
right.
it's loaded backward, it's just going to go down range, and nothing will happen. So anyway, it's just a precautionary measure.
No, that's an awesome measure, because I mean that's one thing, like in training folks and in my careers, I've seen a lot of folks load bangers backwards.
Right.
I mean
And if
it
you've got
happens.
something that'll ignite that banger, like the exhaust from a screamer siren, because
Yeah.
Jesse, if you fire these at night, I'm sure you have before,
Oh
you can
yeah.
see the trailing edge. I mean, it's a flame,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah, it's
So
more than just a smoke trail you see at noon when you're shooting them.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, and then too, that's one thing about that folks might not, when they're shooting the bangers, because they do spark. To me, it's like watching a tumbling sparkler for
well,
like a
that's
like a
and
second
that
and a half.
sparking that sparking is the charcoal burning. That's
Charcoal.
the
Yep.
that's the fuse. That's the fuse burning, and it's for about 1.5 seconds.
Yep. And then so that's something else I want to touch on, is when you were talking about like making sure you're loading them correctly, is especially in an airfield setting, where like FOD's a big deal, foreign object debris, the stuff on the runway. So with, like we always tell folks, when you're shooting the bangers, because they do, like you said, disintegrate if when loaded correctly, they're not as big a deal. But with the whistlers, they that hollow end, they stay intact. I mean, they do disintegrate over time, but until they do, they are a piece of FOD, rolling
True.
around on an
That's
airfield. So
yeah.
then the same thing goes for a backwards loaded banger.
Right.
I mean, but the only difference is that one's still got explosive material in it.
That's right.
So I mean, to me, that's a lot bigger deal. Is loading. If you load one backwards, make sure you get it. Um, Oh, that reminds me of something else I wanted to bring up too, so for a safety thing. Uh, so say we have a banger that's been fired, but maybe we have a bad batch, or you got a banger that's fired and it's just rolling around out there, but it was loaded correctly, but it didn't go off. Um, I kind of want to talk about some of the safety procedures with that. I mean, pretty much. I mean, it's relatively simple to render them inert, but I think it's something that maybe folks don't always know about.
Well,
Um,
we if are you asking what to do with cartridges that you do not feel safe using anymore? Is that your question?
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
Well, we recommend soaking in water for 24 hours and disposing as solid waste.
As solid waste. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just not sure. Folks might not realize that's all it takes is just soaking them in water.
Yeah.
Just to render them inert,
Yeah.
and then, like you said, they just go right in the solid waste.
Yeah. Let me say one other thing about FOD.
Yeah.
The and you're right. There's nothing you can do short of picking this up or waiting for it to disintegrate over time. And it is paper. It's wound
Yeah.
paper. Um, The stabilizer that we're working on is a bio resin, a biodegradable resin. So we're excited about that. We've gone to a lot of extra time and trouble to make that happen. So it will disintegrate over time as well, and it'll completely break down once it lands on the ground.
That's really cool. No, that's yeah. Because I was kind of wondering if it was going to be something like along like lines of plastic, and just for
Yeah,
uh,
it's a corn-based plastic,
corn-based
cornstarch
plastic.
plastic.
Okay,
Yeah,
but still, it's going to be biodegradable. So that's going to be awesome. That if you get one down in the grass somewhere, um, and that's something else too. I should talk about too. Just from another safety point is especially because I'm in Arizona. Everything burns out here. Um, but like we always tell folks for our PPE, there's three things of PPE you got to make sure. You got your eyes and your ears, or your protection for your eyes and ears. But number three for us is a fire extinguisher. We all carry one. Everybody I train carries
good
one in the
idea.
truck. But it is potentially flammable.
Good idea. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's something special. Like I said, down here, but we've already had. Oh, what's today? The 21st of May, and I think we're on like fire like 6 or 7 here in the state this year.
Yeah.
Seems
Well,
like every week for the last few weeks we've been getting at least one or two.
in situations like that, just use your common sense when using these things. If you think that the situation is too dangerous, and don't use them at all. But in any case, when there's any danger of that, just just make your angle higher, and
Yep.
they're still gonna do a great job whether you fire them at a 45-degree angle or straight over your head. They're going to perform almost. They're going to scare the birds almost the same way.
Right, you're still gonna have that auditory
Yeah,
component to it, which is gonna,
yeah.
that's the whole reason. And then you gotta have that nice side effect, especially with the whistlers. With them, you do have something creating a smoke trail that's going towards them, or at least, in their general vicinity, which does seem to help, especially with um, different species of birds or different levels of acclimation. Because I've worked jobs where you're shooting at the same birds day in day out, um, and they do get used to you, and having something sometimes just having that projectile going towards them that's your saving grace.
Yeah.
Because they do. It's just to me. I think that they're the least prone to birds becoming acclimated. There we go. To them compared to other forms of harassment, and we'll get into the other forms in a different episode. But I don't know. I just think as long as they're an option, I always think pyros are the best harassment tool, just because it's something new, it's something very sudden, it's something very loud, and I think that just equals effectiveness overall.
And they're affordable.
They're affordable.
The screamer sirens are $45 per hundred. The bird bangers are $50 per hundred. The louder EXPs are 55 per hundred. So, and the launchers themselves are inexpensive. This is less than $30, I believe. So, uh, you know, I mean, an airport, anyone in airport operations cannot use cost as an excuse for not
Right.
having these products on hand.
So let's go kind of further down that way. So say an airport they don't have these in their possession right now. Um, what steps does an airport have to take to acquire these?
It's very simple, Jesse. There was a time when there were licensing issues for some of our products, but over time we have worked closely with the controlling jurisdiction, which is uh, for usage and storage is Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. For transportation, it's DOT, which is our problem. You really, the end user doesn't have to worry about any DOT requirements because they've already received it. We're the ones who are shipping it. So we're the ones who have to comply with all that. But the end user used to have to worry about some ATF requirements. But over the years, we have been able to work with ATF, and they have found that these really do not belong under that jurisdiction as explosive devices. And so we've found a middle ground with them, and most of them are considered special explosive devices now and are exempt from those requirements. Not to say that we don't recommend safe storage and usage requirements. We do safe storage and usage practices. What we require all of our users to have on hand, we keep on file here, is called a wildlife control statement, and it's just a reminder of that there is a danger in the use of these, and that they do need to be responsible, and they need to be used for one reason only, and that's for bird and wildlife control.
Yep.
And we keep those. We require that they're filled out, and we keep those on hand. And we don't even require them for public entities. We don't require them for our federal, state, or local local government customers. So we know that those are going to be used for the right purposes.
Right.
But yeah, so we've got a long list of recommendations, and we know that safety is the first, is our first priority. But the requirements that did exist for compliance with ATF are not as onerous as they were just 4 or 5 years ago.
Very cool. So, I mean, I think that's great information for folks to have. And then the other thing you mentioned too is, so what about, all right, so an airport, they've purchased Pyrotechnics, they have them on the way. What should they expect as far as storage? Like, where are they going to keep these things? How are they going to keep them contained and safe?
Well, we do offer one magazine. It is a heavy duty magazine. It's a Type 2 magazine, which is heavy, and I mean it's not cheap. It's more than $1,000, and it has to be shipped on a pallet. It's too heavy to put in a box and ship it on the UPS truck. And it's got double locks, and it's got all of, if that's what you need, if that's what your board has decided, that is the best way for you to store pyrotechnics, then we have the answer for you. But it's not required. It's just if you decide to use an abundance of caution.
Yep.
But we just recommend good common sense. Keep them locked up. Keep them in a place with that's dry and secure.
Right. So I mean, if you had them locked up, say in your operations building, like in an ammo can or something like that, I mean, it's dry, it's non-flammable. Old ammo cans, I mean, it seems like they're a dime a dozen sometimes, but I think prices are definitely going up. But but I mean, for folks that might not have the need for that Type 2, I mean, that'll definitely get them.
Yes.
Keep them contained, grab and go kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest with you, I just hit a metal block.
let me talk about one other pyrotechnic cartridge that we offer that it is not that's not nearly as inexpensive as these little things. And for the money, I guess it's worth it. We just have customers who just have to have them for high flying Raptors, basically.
Yeah.
And this is what's called a Kappa, and it goes downrange about 800 to 1,000 feet and makes a loud report, about 150 dB report compared to this is about 130 dB report. So it's pretty cool. Manufactured in France. We've got them on back order now. The manufacturer has slowed down their line, and we're expecting to get them in early fall. Again, we haven't had them for months. But it's got a rocket motor. It's launched from a Very pistol like this, and you drop the barrel and cock the hammer and pull the trigger. And the neat thing about it is that there's no recoil at all. It's not like you're firing some boom, some big charge that's getting fired downrange. It's propelling itself with a rocket motor, and that's why it's expensive. And it has an 8-second delay on it. And I'll never forget the first time I fired one. We fired it, and we waited and waited, and we began to walk away. We thought it was a dud, and then boom. It's pretty cool. It's good. It's a good product. We don't sell many, but our number one, really our only customer for this is aviation. I mean, they're really the only people who have budgets for stuff. This thing right here is like $20. So
Yeah, for a single shot.
Yeah, they're the only folks who have budgets for it, and the only people who really need something like this.
Right, and that's something too. So, that's one thing I've noticed with the pyros, with generals, the 15 mils, is that Raptors seem to be the ones that really just don't care.
Right.
They're very hard to dissuade.
Yeah.
I mean, most folks, you're not shooting at the Raptors unless you're in aviation, simply because they're just not an issue. But with aviation, you got big, slow flying, especially a red tail or a turkey vulture on the swing, making his thermal glides.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's one thing we deal with, especially down here in AZ, is we'll get a turkey vulture on the airfield, and they'll come over, get over the asphalt or the concrete, hit that thermal, and they're gone. I mean, in the time it takes you to even start your truck, they're already out of range.
Yeah.
You just can't respond fast enough, and if you do, by the time you get a hold of tower and let everybody know that you're going to be taking a shot, they're out of range.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're kind of sitting there, kind of like, what now? Whereas a Kappa, it's still well in range, and you can still keep your aircraft protected. Keep the steel birds protected from the feathered ones.
Yeah.
So something I just looked up too. So if folks, because you were mentioning the DB levels, you mentioned the Kappas are 150.
Yeah.
So
That's what the manufacturer estimates.
With the so I'm looking at just for comparison's sake, it's on according to Google anyways, a 12 gauge shotgun is about 155 decibels. So you are pretty loud, and you just want to make sure folks realize that you just make sure you're putting that hearing protection in, because you're talking rupture territory.
Absolutely. We that's our number one safety recommendation that is on all of our literature. Yep. Always wear ear and eye protection.
Yeah, I just don't think that could be stressed enough. I think folks that maybe recreational shooters, I think get it, but I think everybody else might, they think once or twice is not bad, but it's you're getting into the point where you're going to start rupturing eardrums if you don't protect it, especially since with the firearm, it's in a contained, and the muzzle, the noise comes from the muzzle end, which can be 2 or 3 feet away from you. With a pyro, you're only talking arm's length, and it's usually up around the ear level. That's some dangerous territory to have some extra gases being moved around. So,
yeah.
Even on here it says a 22 rifle is still at 140 decibels. And like you were mentioning with the other pyros, right? We're about 130.
About 130, yeah.
Yeah, so you're still quieter, and if I remember right, decibels, is it every one is double as you go up? Like
I believe it is. I don't know when it begins to double. I think it's got to get to a certain level before it doubles, and I can't remember. But
yeah, I gotta be honest, I can't remember either. But either way, it's pretty dang loud, and you know ought to put your
oh yeah,
earplugs in or your muffs on or whatever you have, but
yeah,
make sure it's in the truck and make sure you're wearing it.
yeah.
But I think we've covered just about everything. I think we went through that pretty quick.
Before I sign off, Jesse, I want
Yeah.
to put in a pitch for our Scare War system too, our radio controlled propane
Oh,
cannon.
of course. Yeah.
And it's designed specially for aviation, and we did it about 25 years ago. We installed our first one at Laughlin Air Force Base in Texas, and we did it because it's what our customers were telling us to do. Our aviation customers said, "Look, we like your cannons. We want one. We want a system of cannons that fires only when we tell them to." And so that was how the system was conceived, and we've been doing it ever since, and we've been making improvements, and we've got today the best version of it by far that we've ever offered, and it's pricier. It's a pricey piece of equipment, and may not be the answer for GA airports, but for big commercial airports, it seems like a good investment to me. We have some. The DoD is our biggest customer, the Air Force, and then the Navy, and a couple of Marine Corps air stations, Army airfields. But we do have some commercial airports: BWI, DCA, MSP, PDX. So a handful, but we'd like to see it on more commercial airfields. We got a couple of GA customers too.
Got a couple of GA. So where can folks go to find all this? Like where, like your website or?
Yeah, I started our website, and then call me. That's my favorite topic. I love talking to people about Scare Wars.
Well, definitely Scare Wars, and then just so folks know, it's reedjoseph.com is where they can find you. And like I've been cruising around on your website the last couple of days, and y'all definitely have a lot. I mean, you have everything. You got lasers. I'm looking at the Away with Geese water unit. Your Scare Wars, your Pyrotechnics. I mean, everything's on there, and I'm assuming. I mean, folks have any questions. I mean, they can call you, and actually, I should have had it right here. Do you guys have the phone number you mind putting over? Like how folks can get a hold of you via telephone?
800-647-5554.
5554. That's nice and easy to remember. But well, all right, Mr. Joseph, I think we about covered everything. You got anything else you want to plug in or mention, or?
Everybody stay safe out there.
All right, that's all we can ask for. So, well, thank you again, and yeah, we'll do this again sometime.
Good. I look forward to it.
All right, bye.
See ya.
Hey, and there you have it, folks. Nice little sit down with Mr. Barthell Joseph of Reed Joseph. Again, we're going to have the link for their website down below, and how you can get a hold of them, as well as us, as always. If you're stuck around this long, please make sure you like, share, subscribe, leave a review, especially leave a review for us, because we're going to be giving away some really cool swag. This week, our winner is John RTD. He left us a review on Stitcher. John, could you please email me at jwarner@loomakers.com. That's JWARNER at LOOMACRES.com. With your contact information, and we'll be getting that new swag out to you as soon as possible. Joys of working on an airport. But yeah, so make sure you like, share, subscribe, write those reviews, because if you don't write the reviews, you won't get the swag. We're going to be doing this every time we release an episode. We're going to be pulling a name out of the hat, and then that lucky person is going to be getting some swag. This stuff could vary from different food seasonings, hats, shirts, stickers, we don't know. Every week's going to be different, but you're not going to find out unless you send that review. So make sure you're going on to whatever platform, YouTube, iTunes, Google, Stitcher, whatever it has. If it has a review feature, make sure you send it. That's all I got for you today, guys. Thanks for sticking around this episode. Make sure you stick around for the next one. We got a really cool another interview coming up. I'm not going to spill the beans on it yet, but you're going to want to make sure you stick around and watch that one as well. If you listen to this just on a podcast, you can also find these podcasts with a video portion on our YouTube channel. That's just same name, Airport Wild. Look up the Airport Wild podcast. You'll be able to find us on there. Again, watch everything, because Mr. Barthell has some really cool props. And this is how we're going to want to do it from now on. We're going to want to put these videos in there, because it's one thing for us just to talk about it, but seeing is believing, and you guys need to see what we're talking about, because it's some really cool stuff. Alright guys, that's all I got for you, and we'll see you next time, and keep bringing your airport wildlife management to a higher level.